Thanks, listeners, for joining us. It is time to go outdoors with Nevada Department of Wildlife Conservation Educator Julie Gabrielson. And Julie, it is springtime and things are popping and hopping. People are loving it outdoors.
Oh, it's been beautiful, even intermittent storms with, considering all of that. Just the weather is beautiful and we're all getting that itch to be outside and enjoy it. And so we've got lots of stuff for you, lots of options, and come out and help us.
Excellent.
We've got a big volunteer project coming up on May 5th. That's just, 2 weekends away now. Area 6 Mule Deer Enhancement Project. It's a fence removal near Dunphy. We're partnering with the TS Ranch and Nevada Gold Mines to remove and modify fencing at a key bottleneck area within the mule deer migration corridor for Area 6. Deer from that portion of a larger Area 6 deer herd, they frequently encounter over 29 linear miles of fencing in less than a 10 square mile radius when they arrive at the southern extent of their migration near Dunphy. So fencing often creates an impediment that either slows or changes their movements in that migration. It can lead to an increase in expended energy, or even worst case scenario, lead to a loss of habitat or even death. So this project, with volunteer help, we couldn't do it without our volunteers. The goal is to remove approximately 2.5 miles of fence line. They're going to modify another 2+ miles of existing range fence into a wildlife friendly configuration. There's some really cool configurations that they've done surveys on out there that are very wildlife friendly, as well as being livestock friendly. And then they're also going to construct several strategic sections of a pipe rail fence where wildlife needs the most ability to move efficiently. If you're interested in participating in this project on May 5th, call Nicole Hamlin. Her number is 775-777-2388. And that's coming right up. That's only 2 weeks out.
Yeah, it sounds like a great partner project and a wonderful way to get outdoors and do something that's going to make a huge difference.
Big difference. We don't realize how much that fencing really does affect that migration pattern. And it can cause, them to veer off in a different direction, to not cross. There's several different things that we've seen with those fences. So if we're able to work through that and allow for the multi-purpose, then that's our absolute goal for it.
Excellent, Julie. Another opportunity is also right around the corner, and this is a way that people can help and have a great time at the same time.
Absolutely. May 11th out at Comins Lake. That's down in Ely. We're having our first, it's our inaugural fishing event for the Save Comins Lake Pike-Out. Northern pike are an aquatic invasive species. They're actually even listed as an injurious species to our waters, and they have really incredibly detrimental effects on the Comins Lake fishery. So we're calling on local anglers to come out and help us fish out some of those northern pike from Comins Lake. Again, it's happening May 11th. Anglers do need to pre-register, and as part of that pre-registration, you're going to be entered into an age group category for a chance to win first, second, third place prizes for the biggest pike caught, as well as the heaviest or the most pike caught, so you have the heaviest stringer. There is also going to be, because we recognize that the day after is Mother's Day, we're also offering some cool stuff for mothers down there. We've got some items for a nice Mother's Day raffle for all of the participating moms. If you want to participate in this, there is limited registration available. We do have a few spaces still open. You can call or go to www.register-ed.com to find out more about that. You can also find out more about all of our angler education programs through that same registration link. But that's happening May 11th. They will have some AIS stations set up because any vessels that come out on the water will need to be checked and make sure that they're cleaned and ready before going out on Comins Lake from any other area. And so we'll even offer some early check-in on Friday, but the event itself doesn't start until Saturday morning on May 11th.
And that's very cool. Again, you need your fishing license, and you can download that app, Fish Nevada, right? Because if you need to kind of brush up on pike.
Absolutely, yeah. And totally encourage you to do that. There'll be a lot of Department of Wildlife staff down there, as well as a lot of volunteers. But definitely do your homework before coming down there and really have a good time, because it's also a great trout and bass fishery. So there's a chance you're going to catch more than just pike as well.
All right. Sounds like a great time. Again, last chance, putting out the plea for the Save Comins Lake Great Pike-Out that's coming up soon. And then these education programs are ongoing. I heard that sage grouse experience was fantastic.
Have you ever been out on that?
I've not, and I want to go.
We need to get you out on
I
that.
would love to go.
You would
I'm
love
an
it.
early riser. I don't mind.
Yes, it really is a neat experience. We had 30 participants for the full event. The way that it works is we meet very early in the morning. This is a very early morning event, and we take everybody out by bus ride to a sage grouse lek, where you get to experience and see these amazing birds on doing their actual mating dance on the lek itself. You'd be amazed how many people have never seen that. Even, avid outdoorsmen, just not out there at the right time, at the right place, and being able to see it. And so we offer that opportunity, but it also gives us an opportunity to educate about the greater sage grouse and their importance as one of our Western iconic birds, but also opportunities as a volunteer to maybe help us out with counting those leks, because we've got hundreds of leks that we have to count every year, from about mid-February, early February, up until about early May. And we're always looking for volunteers to get out there and help us with that. So that also offers that opportunity for them to see what it really is like to go out and hear them and see them, as well as helping out with the count and experiencing it for themselves. It really is a cool event. We had that last weekend, and we do it once a year, every year. And we partner with several other agent or groups like Northern Nevada Stewardship Group, BLM, and Forest Service. They're all a part of that with us as well.
Oh, nice, Julie. Again, it's an opportunity to help learn more about the iconic bird and to preserve it. This has been going on, this amazing ritual that you described, for hundreds of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So don't miss a chance. And that's part of the point. We don't ever want it to go away either.
No,
so.
And it really is very unique.
Yeah.
To see any of these birds on their leks and on their mating grounds and doing their actual dance. The greater sage grouse is pretty mild in comparison to like the sharp-tailed grouse, where their feet beat 100 beats a minute. It seems like, they're very fast. They're little dancers is what they are. But they all have a little unique thing to them and a different look to them. And it really is a sight to see.
Oh, so cool. So get involved in that, get on the list. And then obviously reach out to Nicole St. John for the best opportunity.
Yeah. And like I said, we normally start planning that and start opening up registration for it in February-ish. Of each year. So you can definitely keep that on your radar to look on social media, as well as, advertisements and radio and things like that to hear about more of it. But Nicole St. John also has additional education that she does out there, a lot with the schools, and she does have some in class programming still available before the end of the school year. So if you've got any questions for her, any options that she might have for you, give her a call. Her number is 775-777-2391.
Yeah, it is the end of the school year, and folks have spring fever.
Oh, so bad.
Yes. So help those kiddos out and help the teachers too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, and folks are out fishing, Julie. This is an exciting time of year. The rivers are rising, though. We do need to keep snow melt in mind.
They are, and they're with the rise comes faster flows as well. So safety is a big concern if you're going to be out around any of those waters. Spring stocking has started, and it's actually going to get pretty heavily underway in the next couple of weeks. So you might be out there fishing, and you might see some of the trucks coming out and stocking some more fish into those reservoirs. Wild horse is ice-free, but the boat dock was damaged during ice off. So the ramp is still open. You can still launch a boat from the ramp, but the dock is not available for use at Wild Horse. Other local lakes and reservoirs have been fishing pretty good for trout. The anglers, our biggest caution, going back to what we just said, is watching the weather and watching those flows. The conditions can change pretty quickly, and especially when you're accessing some of those more remote waters like Wilson Reservoir, some of those roads can get pretty nasty pretty quickly. So just be aware of the weather and the conditions when you're going out there. And going back to that runoff, it is peaking in a lot of areas. And it's really going to continue to do so over the next week or so, especially with warmer weather followed by rain that's in the forecast. So really just use that extreme caution when you're out there, especially around those areas that are starting to blow out.
And speaking of blowout, if we do get thunderstorms, if it does come with lightning, you got to get off the water, right?
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
It's probably a good idea because, I mean, if you're on the water, especially if you're out on a vessel on the water, those waters can get pretty choppy pretty quick. And if you've been in Nevada long enough and in this area long enough, those storms come really quick. And that you can get blown across the lake pretty quickly and not be prepared. And so really just, again, pay attention to that weather and know what's going to be the best opportunity for you to be out there in and the safest.
Perfect. Watch for rainbows, but watch for clouds too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here we are into the topic of game.
Yes. So our 2024-25 big game season apps, that book is available online and in the hard copy. You can pick them up at the offices. Remember that the quotas listed in those seasons in that app book are from last year and are really just as a reference for you. Those quotas won't actually have a hard set on them until the Wildlife Commission meets on May 3rd and 4th. That meeting is in Reno. We do have the Elko Cab meeting that's happening on Monday, that just couple days away from now, the 29th. So you can always go to that meeting, give them any insight, any feedback that you have for them, and then they can take it back to the commission as well for you if you can't make it to Reno for the actual commission meeting. Game, they've really got a lot going on right now. Spring surveys are always pretty time consuming, as well as like the sage grouse we just talked about with those surveys. They've just wrapped up 1 year of a multi-year agreement with Idaho to capture and translocate the Columbian sharp-tailed grouse. And this year we moved 20 of them, and they were all hens, to the Bull Run Basin. We've got 2 more years on this particular agreement with Idaho, but it's really complementing a previous effort that happened between 2013 and 2017, where about 200 hens and males were brought from Idaho and placed into that same area. There are bigger plans that go on to this to include moving them and translocating some of them to different areas, not just the Bull Run Basin. So that's really kind of a cool thing. So if you're out in that area and you see some of the sharp-tailed grouse, let us know. We definitely want to know when you're seeing them out there.
Well, very cool. All right. And as you mentioned, though, that quota setting meeting is coming up. That's the State Board of Wildlife. We have our local advisory boards that meet. They need input from the community on all kinds of things.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's really important that the community gets involved in these. We highly encourage it. So the local CAB meeting is May 29th or Monday, April 29th. And then we've got, again, that actual quota meeting for the commissioners in Reno is happening May 3rd and 4th.
All right. So don't forget that. And your opinion counts. And you probably, if you're the least bit engaged, you listen to this program, you may have some ideas about that. So very cool.
Please do. Yeah.
So operations, we are also getting into the season where people are getting the boats out.
Getting the boats out. Yes. Yard sale boats, buyer beware. Don't buy a boat without a title.
Such a deal. Yeah.
It is really going to save you a lot of headache if you just pass that boat if it doesn't have a title. It might seem like a really great deal, but it really is a lot of work. And sometimes it can't be titled. Sometimes it can, but sometimes it can't be. So really be aware of that when you're looking at boats. Make sure you're asking about titles. May 8th is the last day for the big game application period. That's coming up just a couple weeks as well. Also, back to the boats, if you're out-of-state vessel purchases from a business or dealership, they must have the tax paid through the Department of Taxation, which can take some time. So feel free to call the office, and Natalie can help walk you through all of that. She's really informational, very helpful, and is happy to help you get everything dialed in for you. And then when it comes to those registrations, remember, Department of Wildlife does not handle the OHV registrations or inspections. That's all done through the DMV.
All right. You can find out more online, ohv.nv.gov, to get details, but make sure that you're registered and licensed And you've got all that important paperwork in order before you head out.
Yes. Yeah. It's better to be prepared going out there than, figuring out that you've forgotten something that you really need to have.
Getting in trouble.
Yeah. Don't want that.
Speaking of, well, there's law enforcement, although we know our agents are there to generally just to help us, to keep us, wardens are there to help protect, the resources as well as the people.
They really are. They're great guys. They're and gals. They're really a great group of folks out there helping our resource and our wildlife. But they do have a job, and some of that goes back to, enforcing some of the regulations and the laws that we do have out there. Shed hunting is still closed, but not for much longer. It actually opens Wednesday, May 1st. But you do have to pass that shed hunting ethics test. Remember, that test is free. You can find it at NDOW.org. You can even find some of the information on our NDOW Facebook page. The collection certificate is required from May 1st to June 30th. And again, that collection remains closed from January 1st until April 30th every year, regardless of having that certificate. That you cannot shed hunt until May 1st. That shed course, it's free. So go in there and take it. It's a pretty quick course to take, and print out that certificate and have it on hand with you when you're out in the field, or a digital copy of it, and get out there and have some fun. But wait till May 1st. Wait till May 1st.
Yeah. It's a fun family activity. A lot of people really look forward to that, Julie. So yeah. OHV, if you are getting out on the public lands, the conditions can be kind of muddy and it's tempting to go off trail, but that's just not wise.
It really isn't. We've got designated trails out there and roads out there. Stick to those. If you want to get off of those trails, walk, please. Keep the OHVs on those designated roads. There's a lot of reasons behind that. A lot of it goes back to the habitat destruction. You start creating more roads, and then we potentially not only destroy some of the native habitat that's already there, but then we potentially create an access point for some of the invasives to move into another area as well. So not to mention, it's hard on our wildlife when we start creating our own roads to go into areas that haven't been there before. So keep them on public lands, pay attention to private property law, boundaries as well. And really just be respectful of that land that's out there.
And it's always a good idea, speaking of private property, gates, when you come across gates, you leave them as you found them, right?
That is definitely the concept that you should go through when you're out there. If the gate's open when you go through, go ahead and leave it open. But if it's closed, make sure you close it behind you. And that's all kinds of gates, whether it be a stretch fence or, an actual a solid Powder River gate with a latch on it. Just make sure you're leaving it as however you found it.
Yep, because it's usually about livestock and where they want to keep their livestock in or out of.
It is. Yes. The livestock are typically designated permits and certain grazing areas for certain times of year. So if they start getting into areas they're not supposed to be because a gate's been left open when it shouldn't have been left open, or they're not able to get into another area where they should be able to because the gate got closed when it shouldn't have been closed.
Where they have water, perhaps?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it can cause a lot of problems for the livestock owners. So definitely be aware of that when you're out there.
All right. And then also want to remind that law enforcement is also out helping keep the waters safe.
Yes, and the waters are already busy. So remember, with boating safety, know what's required for your vessel. A big key thing is PFDs, those personal flotation devices. They're required for all passengers on board. 12 and under are required to actually wear them. So when we say they're required for all on board, if you're going to have 12 people on your vessel, you need to make sure that you have 12 accessible PFDs. We don't want them hidden in a locked trunk that people are sitting on. We want them pretty easily accessible. So if there is an issue, they can get to it pretty readily. And again, I would just say, just wear it. They've got a lot of,
giant puffy.
Yeah. I mean, they've got
cumbersome. There's some cool ones. You look so awesome. Look like a superhero.
And it's kind of sad that we're there where, that safety concern comes back to, do I look cool or
does this
am I
life jacket
safe?
make me look big?
Exactly.
How about it makes you look alive?
Yeah. So let's just wear the life vests and they will save your life. I mean, We have a lot of incidents. I shouldn't say a lot, but we have several incidents every year where somebody's life could have been saved had they been wearing a PFD.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to think about the children. It is required for anybody 12 and under, no excuse.
Anybody 12 and under has to be wearing a PFD when they're out on any of those vessels. That includes the kayaks and the paddle boards as well.
Talking with Julie Gabrielson, our Nevada Department of Wildlife Conservation educator. And just another note too, people like to go out and enjoy the sun and maybe have a beer, but same rule goes for boating as driving.
It does.
Yes.
Yeah. As far as operating a vessel on the water is
operating under the influence.
It is operating under the influence, so you
Yes.
can't do that either. That is one of the regulations that some of our game wardens unfortunately do have to enforce.
Right. So keep it sane out there and have a great time.
Yep.
And this happened. This happened to my daughter recently. They found a baby bird. Wasn't so little, but they think it whacked into a window.
And the best thing is to leave the baby birds alone. There's a lot of situations out there, and unfortunately, sometimes Mother Nature is not friendly. But if you find a baby bird, a fawn, any of the baby creatures out there that are coming out, and being born right now and hatching, leave them alone. Their best case of survival is to be left alone. When you pick them up and you bring them into us or into somebody else, the chances of them surviving that is a lot slimmer than if you've left them out in their natural environment where one of the parents can actually get to them and find them. And so it's really important that you just let them be wherever they're at. I know it's hard.
It is hard.
It can be heartbreaking. But it is. It's really important that you just let them be.
She sent me a picture, Julie. It was on the sidewalk in Arizona, and they ended up taking it to a rescue because they have those in big cities.
A lot of places do.
But
Nevada
they said they
not.
get 9,000 of those types of things a month, which was like shocking.
Yeah, we don't have any rehabbers in the state at this point.
Yep.
And so unfortunately, it's just not an option for us. But yeah, there are some areas that definitely do have that because especially in those more urban areas, you got more people. Means you've got more people coming across that kind of stuff.
And more opportunities for those birds to collide with buildings, unfortunately, too.
Unfortunate.
Well, we have all these beautiful wide open spaces and plenty of bird watching. It's a great activity. So tell us about how we've been doing. We know we've been asking for volunteers to help in some of these surveys, Julie.
So they're wrapping up the West Side Shorebird surveys in coordination with the Audubon Society. You can go to the Audubon's website and look up the regional shorebird documents, and that'll give you some more breakdown of how this shorebird survey has really dialed in. I don't have exact numbers on any of it, but this is really just a resurvey of over 100 wetlands and different sites across the West. This was originally surveyed about 30 years ago, and the survey provides a snapshot of the shorebirds. And when we talk about shorebirds, think about a killdeer or avocets or sandpipers during their spring migration. A picture of the condition of those wetlands is also part of that survey, as well as a comparison to the previous survey results. So you can find more information on that on the Audubon website, and again, look up regional shorebird, and it'll bring up several different documents that you can dial in for different areas.
That is one good thing about the internet too, Julie, is you can actually go on and find all these sites of live nests and things. If you ever do that when you're
Yes.
for you, it's probably work, but for me, I think, this is so soothing watching all these beautiful birds in really wild places around the world.
Well, and quite honestly, it's work, but we really enjoy it as well. And I get a kick out of it because my parents who live down in Texas, every once in a while I'll get a message from them and they'll send me a link. Check out this nest. And it's, something that
I
Texas
think it's what
Parks
old
and
people
Rec
do.
is. Yeah, Texas Park and Rec, is watching an eagle's nest or something. And so they're advertising it. And there's some of those types of things that are on a national level as well. National Geographic has done it, as well as U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So it's really cool that, even those things, you could be miles apart, but you're still connected by something so unique. It is. We still enjoy it.
Oh, I'm glad to hear
I was
that.
actually out at Argenta yesterday morning, and they were doing a seed project out there at the Argenta WMA just north of Battle Mountain. And the birds out there are just incredible right now. There's so much water that it's like the marshes, only right just north of Battle Mountain, because there's just so much water out there, and it's bringing in so many birds through their migration. I think Jeremy Lutz told me just a random number. There's an app that you can go to and see, according to some of the Doppler radars, how many migrating birds came through a specific area. Where that radar is actually targeting. And a couple nights ago, like 260,000 birds went through. And it's just so incredible. And so I was just sitting out there and I'm filming and taking care of, that end of things. But I was just listening. And there's so much music going on from our wildlife out there right now with all the birds. So it really is pretty cool.
Oh, what a treasure that we now have that place that we can call a public space.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, it really is. And there's a great walking trail through there as well. They've got a nice, road that you can just walk along if you don't want to go off into the other areas and really still see a lot of the wildlife.
Oh, very cool. Visiting with Julie from Nevada Department of Wildlife today. And speaking of the birds, we are monitoring our Pinyon Jay situation.
We are, and we're interested in observations. So if you're coming across some of the Pinyon Jays and seeing them in certain locations, please let us know. You can get on to eBird, and you can actually report those sightings through eBird. It's pretty easy. You can do it on a desktop computer, or you can do it through an app on your phone as well. We want to learn more about this bird and the current conservation efforts. And you can learn more of that as well by visiting the Great Basin Bird Observatory website. And we would like any of those observations that you see, just let us know.
Yeah, we used to have so many around, and they're really cool birds. So lucky you if you get to encounter them.
They are very cool. Yeah. I was up in the canyon. They're not the Pinyon Jays, but I was up in the canyon over the weekend, and the bluebirds. They're almost neon right now. And so they're out. And so there's several different blue birds that we have in the area, a couple, 2 or 3 at least. But the Pinyon Jays, they're a pretty neat one as well.
Oh, that's great. So see, Nevada Department of Wildlife is all about the species. Sure, it helps sportsmen and women, but they also help people who are just in love with the wildlife, which belong to all of us, which is so cool.
It is.
Yes.
And that's a big part of what we're trying to do too, is share that with you and find different ways for you to get out there and enjoy it as well.
Speaking of, another couple of quick topics we want to squeeze in. Volunteer guzzler build is back.
It is. It's coming up on June 29th. It's that full weekend. Last year we had about 60 volunteers and staff that helped with that. This one, like I said, it's the weekend of June 29th, approximately 30 miles out of Ely. And we're going to build a 10,000 gallon water development that's going to benefit elk, mule deer, and pronghorn alike. It's family friendly. It's really cool because you can bring the kids out, even if they're littles. We typically can find something for them to do and have you hang out and help with this. It's really a rewarding event, especially when you go back years afterwards and see how it's been in use and what its benefit. Big shout outs to Elko Bighorns Unlimited and the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. We do partner with them on this to help make that build happen. As part of the family friendly event, it's a camping event that includes food. We normally feed you. Yeah. So give us a call, 777-2388, if you have any interest in coming out and helping with that.
And then Nicole Hamlin is also recruiting volunteers, as she is for the Guzzler Project, to someone who likes creepy crawly things.
Yeah. Nicole is busy. She is very busy looking for all of our volunteers and coming up with different projects for different volunteer, interests. So like you said, creepy crawlies, we are looking for some inventory, to inventory some reptile presence in both Lamoille Canyon and near Angel Lake. It's very flexible. It begins in June, goes throughout the summer. You can build your own schedule on it. If you don't have any local knowledge of our local reptiles, we can still train you and we can give you the resources to take out with you to help ID them. If you do have local knowledge of them, that's even better. It's a really great time to spend outdoors and take a little road trip and some drives. And that's also another family-friendly event. You can get the family involved in it. But back to Nicole, this is another one of her programs that she can get you signed up to help with, and that's 777-2388.
Julie, it's always a pleasure to visit with you. Get caught up on all of our amazing wildlife news from Nevada Department of Wildlife. We won't find you in the office as much this time of year, but there are lots of resources online to get more information on social media too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're in the office. We try to be like once or twice a week if we're too crazy, but we at least check emails and voicemails when we're not actively in the office regularly.
And you have I should actually qualify. You have great office staff who are there during regular hours.
We do.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep. It's a great job.
Super cool.
It is very cool.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you, listeners, for joining us for Elko Live today here on KELK.